138 Openings of Wisdom by the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. This is opening 23. And before I start the reading of the opening, I usually start with a word or two or three of gematria, either in English or in Hebrew. Today, the word for the gematria word is pashut. In Hebrew, that means simple or plain. Pashut. And pashut equals 138 in Atbash. In regular Hebrew gematria, pashut equals 395, meaning that pei would equal 80, shin equals 300, vav equals 6, and tet equals 9. That would be 395. But in Atbash is a substitution cipher where aleph equals taf and bet equals shin. They're interchangeable, meaning aleph can equal 1 or it can equal 400. If you do it with its Atbash, which means if you're using only the substitutions, so then pei would equal vav and vav would equal pei. Shin would equal bet, because at bash. Aleph is taf, bet is shin, at bash. Taf could equal 1. And shin equals 2. And tet equals nun. Because it's at, bash, gar, dak, hatz, uf, ze'ah, chas, tam. That's the sort of the way of saying it. So pashut, so pei equals 6, 6, and 6 and 2 is 8. 8 and 80 equals 88. And 88 and 50 equals 138. So that's correct. I did it on a calculator, but now I'm just saying it verbally. Pashut equals 138 in Atbash gematria. And why is that important? Because this is 138 openings of wisdom, and the theme is 138. All the gematrias that equal 138 in any way, regular, there are many, many different types of gematrias. Some of which, it's blowing my mind how many ciphers there are. There are 5. On the top of my head, I can name 5 different ciphers that probably most people would know, but there are like 18 different ciphers that I just became aware of that are a lot more esoteric. I would say most people don't know, including myself. I wasn't aware with any of these, unless you're really going deep into gematria. So, for example, Mispar Arachi, I think everybody would know that one. That's the most well known. Those are the gematrias that you see in the Talmud or Mishnah, or the most universal is where aleph is 1, bet is 2, and then when it gets to yud it goes by tens, and then when you get to 100 it goes by hundreds. That's Mispar Arachi. But you also have Mispar Siduri, which has some amazing results, and Mispar Siduri or Mispar Seder is where you just use the ordinal counting of the aleph bet, which there's 22 original letters. You're not counting sophites. It's aleph is 1, bet is 2. But when you get to yud, you don't go by tens. Yud is 10, then kaf is 11, lamed is 12, and then when you get to taf, it's going to be 22. You just go by the order. And in that, there's some incredible results that are really alignment with truth on so many different levels. And they can be demonstrated, but not for now. Then you have mispar katan. This is where you're only counting single digits. Then when you get to 10, you just add them together, and it becomes, once a yud would be 1 again. Kaf would be 2, etc. That's also its own system. Then there's Atbash, which I just described. And there's Albam. Albam was where Aleph equals Lamed, Bet equals Nun. Albam. Aleph, Lamed, Bet, Nun, and so forth. And also some incredible results. Just a side note, because everyone, in the Torah world, they want to know what your Masorah is. What is your tradition? What is your teach, your line of teachers? Where does it actually come from? So this is just in my own sensibility, this, I guess, self-identifying as in this Masorah, is from Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg, and one of his students took his work and developed it further, and I identify in part with that Masorah, which is a highly focused on gematria and codes. And this is not something that is very widespread within mainstream Judaism. Although this root, this line, is in mainstream Judaism, but it's its own aspect of mainstream Judaism. It's a little bit more niche, but it's still considered Orthodox and Haredi and Hasidic. In fact, this line, in part, can connect to the Lubavitcher Rebbe of blessed memory, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, and to a certain line of Hasidic Rebbes that go back to the Baal Shem Tov of blessed memory. And this particular line is, I identify with this line in terms of how I'm developing the Torah in terms of Kabbalah, Hasidut, and Gematria. And Rabbi Ginsburg says that Al-Bam, I remember reading in one of his articles, that Al-Bam is connected to Mochin de Abba in Kabbalah, the father mind, and Atbash is connected to Mochin de Ima, the mother mind. And those are Kabbalistic terminologies. And I'm working with those ideas. From what I understand, I was about to say something, but I want to make sure that is correct. Okay, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. But what I just said now about Mochin Amen, I remember reading that. And the way I remember that is Al-Bam, the way it's Mochin de Abba, the father mind, is that Al-Bam, you can see the word Av in there, Al-Bam, Av. But Atbash is the mother mind because you see the word Bat, and every mother is a daughter. So Bash, Bat. See Bat in there? It means daughter. So that's the mother mind. That's how I remembered it. Anyway, back to a little bit off tangent there, but off on a tangent, not off tangent. Yeah. Okay, back to the 138 openings of wisdom. The lights execute their functions through the holy names which make up the Torah. It is through the names that the lights come to execute their functions, and their sum total constitutes the Torah. It is therefore called the Holy One, blessed be He's craftsman's instrument. Having discussed the letters, we now turn to the holy names, which are made up of various letter combinations. The proposition has two parts. Now we're back to our parts thing again. Remember Chelek, parts? And Chelek equals 138 in regular Hebrew Gematria. That's why I always say regular Hebrew Gematria, because I'm differentiating between Mispar Seder, between Mispar Katan, Albam, Adbash, there's Achbi, there's Mispar Kidmi, there's, what else is there? There's Mishulash, there's gematrias where you go by triangle numbers, there's prime number gematrias, there's mirrors, Ne'elam, Mispar Gadol, Mispar Mispari, there's so many different gematria ciphers, and Matzapach, and here's the thing, what comes to mind is the verse that says, all the rivers lead to the ocean. All of these streams lead to they all work. They all lead to a correct understanding because they're order. And any order is another pathway. And the key in work in what's trying to be done here in terms of my work is to connect all these different pathways and use multiple different pathways and see how they work together. Back to the thing. The proposition has two parts. Part one, it is through the names. This introduces the subject of the divine names of which the Torah is made up. Part two, this explains the executive function of the names, which the Holy One, blessed be He's craftsman's instruments. Part one. It is through the names that the lights come to execute their functions. For we see that the execution of all the different functions depends on the holy names, of which there are many. Of all the various names are understood as different combinations of interconnected lights, since each name is a unique combination of letters, and the letters are clusters of lights, as explained in opening 20. It is from these lights that the angels receive their power to act. At the root of the matter lies the fundamental idea set forth here, that it is the letters which bring the lights to execute their functions. The letters join together in various combinations, producing different names to execute the various different functions. Each name possesses a unique power to execute a particular function, and it is through the different names that all of the different functions are executed. Now, the Torah constitutes the sum total of all these names. As the sages said, the whole Torah is made up of the names of the Holy One, blessed be He. Zohar Yitro 87a and Ramban's commentary on the Torah introduction. And their sum total constitutes the Torah. In other words, the Torah is the sum total of all the different arrangements that were instituted in order to actually bring forth the various functions into the world. This is besides the Torah's esoteric meaning, for the esoteric meaning of the words of the Torah is bound up with the mystery of the Sefirot, which are the very roots of the different functions. Thus, it is through the Sefirot that we may understand the way in which the world is governed. However, the actual execution of the different functions comes about through the letters. Thus, in addition to their esoteric significance, the various different names and letter permutations possess this special power of execution. Part 2. It is therefore called the Holy One, blessed be He's craftsman's instrument. From the point of view of its esoteric meaning, the Torah is called plans and registers, as used by a master builder to know how to make the rooms and how to make the openings. Bereshit Rabbah, in the beginning. In other words, the content and esoteric meanings of the words of the Torah explain the why of creation, its blueprint and reasons. But besides this, The actual letters of the Torah themselves are literally the craftsman's tools with which the work is actually executed. This comes about through the different permutations of letters, as in the case of the various names, which can visibly be seen to bring about an immediate effect through their very mention, or when they are used in other ways, such as in writing, in the form of amulets, or in meditation, in the form of yichudim. Thus, everything is contained in the Torah, including both the underlying thoughts and arrangement of creation, which are contained in the esoteric meanings of the words of the Torah, and the execution of these thoughts is in actuality through the permutation of its holy names.